Welcome to the land of no easy answers. Our world, though more connected than ever, seems to have forgotten how to connect. Everywhere you look, the disconnect is obvious from the people around us and even ourselves. This is Alex Knight, and thank you for joining us as we have those difficult conversations and unpacked how our minds work. Now, let's meet our panel. In one corner, we have Kristin Rumohr.
Well, hello there.
Clinical holistic counselor. And in the other corner, Aaron Stewart. Say hello, Aaron.
Hello. All right.
He's super excited.
I'm ready.
Ready for it.
He's pumped. Because we're going to be talking about how supposedly self-care should take a back seat to what? Collective care? What does that mean? Collective care. It means talking about how we should be helping our neighbors, helping society at large. How else are we going to be better as a species if we just only think about our own selves, right? Because I think we're inherently selfish, aren't we, as a species?
No, I don't agree
You
with
don't
that.
think so?
I get more of a
Good.
like I feel better helping someone else than I do, doing something for me, right?
I think we're wired to be collective.
Mhm.
We're wired to help each other out.
Oh, you
I
think it's the
we've
other way around,
created-
really?
Yeah. Well, I think, at a basic
Okay.
biological level, I think
Yeah.
we've created a selfish society for sure. And that's kind of what we're talking about today is it comes down to a lot of capitalism and how, we've put the self now above everyone else. It's all about
sorry, my
self-care, right? Take care of you.
Okay, so that is that's interesting. So how exactly did we get here? Right? If we're selfish now more so than ever, how exactly did we get here? Right?
Well, I think like a lot of other things, it was sold to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you think there's a capitalism aspect to this?
100%, yeah. Right? We're sold the idea of, just how we take care of ourselves, right? We're sold an image of how we're supposed to look, how we're supposed to behave, and it's all packaged under the guise of, self-help and self-care, right?
Yeah.
If you look like this guy or this girl or you behave this way, then you will therefore be a better person that everyone wants to be around, and that's better for the community.
For the
Okay.
low price of only $999.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that's the problem. It comes down to this idea of a magic pill, right? That someone can show you the way to make your life perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of it being a journey that we make mistakes on,
Mm-hmm.
Right, and also, you talk about mistakes, right? How many times are we, because everyone's upbringing is different, but even if you look at it from our own personal lives to the corporate world, oftentimes mistakes are seen as, ever life-changing and in a very negative way, and there's an inherent negative connotation, right, to making mistakes, right? Yeah. And you even see this to a degree in cancel culture, which, we had a whole episode where we talked about that too. And, we've gone, I feel, so far one way in many aspects where, a lot of people can't make I'm not sure if we can make mistakes either, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
it's a bit of a conundrum because we're told, you need to learn from your mistakes, right? The only way you'll evolve is to fail and then learn from it and try again. So we're sold, again, this idea, but when you actually do it, you're kind of labeled as a failure, right? Whether that's from society or even from within yourself.
Yeah.
Right? We're supposed to make these mistakes, but also you really shouldn't.
See, I think LeVar Burton put it best, where he said that what we're having is not a cancel culture; it's a culture of accountability that wasn't available before, right?
I'm all for that,
and that's exactly the thing. So I mean, there's going to be, if we've never had this discussion before, like if the pendulum has been sitting here this whole time, right, and you've been watching it slowly pull away from you and pulling away from you and pulling away from you, the first chance you get to actually say something, you're going to want to try to swing it as far as you can. That's, but again, I feel like that's progress, to be able to have these conversations now that we weren't able to have before, right? And yeah, some people are going to lose their jobs over it, right? But again, I look at the people who have taken accountability for their actions are still out there, right? The ones who equivocate and go, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do anything. It's just right. Those are the ones who have been basically canceled.
I don't have a problem with accountability. I think there should be accountability. What
Absolutely.
I have a problem with is, in general, I'm not really for, I don't like the term even of woke or wokeness or woke culture. There's so much about it that just fucking pisses me off, that it's just so fake. And so I just think like every one of us, we like all have the power to be better, to help each other out, right? And we all need to make the steps of like, being good to each other, being good to our neighbors, and it can't always be, we can't always come down to us versus them either, because that's it's so easy to fall back into that, because I think we're kind of wired that way. We're all somewhat protective of our own tribes, right? Of our own communities too. Like we all have communities, and communities are a good thing. They're a positive thing. But they can also be very tribalistic. I think we're still very tribalistic as a species. And that's not always a good thing either, because, just what we talked about in our previous episode, Aaron, you say we're all connected, right? And yet we're so tribalistic, and it is very much us versus them, and we don't want to help each other, and we're very nervous about, like, who is that? What is that person like? Are they, are they a threat to me? Are they a threat to my community? Right. And
that I mean, if your social narrative is that of threats everywhere, then yeah, of course it would be tough to trust anyone.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think the media, definitely plays a part in playing that up. But, I think the murder rates keep going down, the crime rates keep going down. Right? Like realistically, we do keep getting better at this, right? So there is progress being made, right? And to get back to the idea of the self-care, right? Like the idea that you can help yourself without helping others seems myopic to me, right? Like we're all connected, and so the idea is that, I don't have all the answers. I can't. It's literally impossible for me to have all of the answers, right? And so you can try to better yourself for sure. But I look at read a book, right? Like you don't need to have, all of these courses or, a magic egg to put into your hoo-ha to make your life better, right? Like there's ways that you can, I mean, hey, I maybe Gwyneth is blessing each one of these eggs as they go down the line, right? I mean, maybe she is imposing her energy on them, and that's what makes them so special. I don't know. Right. But it's just, the idea that someone can give you the magic pill to fix your life. Sorry, guys. It's just not like that.
Yeah, it doesn't exist, right? It's so
self-care at its root is just, I think, about understanding yourself better, which isn't something that can be bought. Right. So I kind of use just a circle analogy to kind of picture it. Right. So you need to go kind of from the process of being a me, very self-centered, egotistical, to being a we, which is then part of the collective, right? And helping out there in order to transition back again from being a we to being an I, which is different from me, right? So me is that egotistical self, whereas I is actual you, your consciousness, right? And how you interact with the rest of the world and humanity at large. So I think that you need to make that shift. You need to go through that circle. And it's easy to get stuck on the first two, right? We all know people that are very selfish, that cannot think of others. And it's an equal trap to fall into, getting stuck in dedicating your full life to other people as well. right? It's a very noble cause, but ultimately that helps serve the ego when you need to transition it back.
Yeah. I see examples of extreme selfishness every day. And
I was going to say, Alex, you should probably quit that.
It really makes me think, though, like, how did this person get this way? Because there's got to be, it must have something to do with upbringing. I can't believe that somebody just is that way, right? You learn that behavior. That's learned behavior, right?
Absolutely.
Just someone, I'll try to make this super generic, that I know that, would go to, for example, would go to a place of business with their children and just let them run around the store, doesn't give a shit what they're doing, doesn't pay any kind of close, like, think about it from a parenting perspective, doesn't watch them, that is okay with just leaving that place of business to go grab a sandwich and just leave the kids there. like we're talking like 4, 5, 6-year-olds. Just leave them in a store
and let you babysit.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And then
free babysitting. That's
and
great.
On top of that,
that's brilliant.
On top of that, this person will just rudely interrupt. Like, for example, like, we're having a conversation right now. We'll just walk in the middle of a conversation and just talk about all these things that they want, not realizing, like, hello, we're in the middle of something here. This person just does not give a fuck. And I'm sorry, I just don't want to believe that that you just grow up like this. Like, that's learned behavior, right? But I don't even know, like, what do you do about that? How does that person?
Yeah, that's kind of what we're here for.
That's difficult,
right? Like,
that's an extreme example, but that's difficult.
And that's the problem.
How do you recognize that in yourself?
Yeah,
I don't think
that's a tough thing. No one wants to think that they're a selfish asshole.
I think
hopefully not, anyways.
I think you would just have to tell that person, like, look, this is not okay.
That might just
have you tried having those conversations?
It might just be the choice they made at that particular time too, right? Like, again, I try to not. I don't think you're a selfish asshole, right? That's my thing. Like, I assume that inside you is someone who's trying to not be a selfish asshole. And sometimes I got the selfish asshole. I got that roulette spinning. I happened to land on. I get selfish asshole today. Shit.
I think part of the issue is, if you're in a business environment and that person's a client, you have to tread carefully too, right? But, maybe I'm being too careful because there have to be limits, right? There's certain behavior in society that we have to say, no, this is not acceptable behavior and I will not have it. I think we have to maybe just be less careful, because if that person, they might not be a malicious person. Maybe they are a good person, but they are fundamentally just doing things that they don't even realize what they're doing, because maybe nobody's told them, right? Nobody's confronted them.
And so I'm going to put a plug in here for our newsletter and my new blog called The Royal You, which is about entitlement, and kind of, as far as I can see, fits right into this.
Oh,
nicely.
Yes, this person is very entitled.
And that's kind of, I think, where we're having this issue now, is that everybody believes that that's what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And so regardless of, I like, not Anne Leibovitz, God damn it.
She's great though.
There was a show on, I believe, HBO. It was called Pretend It's a City.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember her. It's an Anne's. Anyway, she just said, like, the people who are wandering around just with, not even paying attention to anybody else. She just says to them, like, just pretend it's a city. Pretend that there's other people around you that, then your actions might actually affect them.
Yeah.
Because it feels like a lot of people, it doesn't even just cross their minds that there's other people around, and maybe I should, watch where I'm walking so I'm not wandering into people, or or just doing, again, just selfish asshole stuff.
It's almost become acceptable to be that way, right?
Yeah.
Like, we need to remember that we created this within our culture, not us personally, of course. But
I have very low tolerance if I'm in a public setting too with people. Like I see this at the mall all the time. You know, people crowding around the top of an escalator. They'll just stand there with a group of friends, like blah 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 blah. Like no, like I get to the top of the escalator and I can't get off. I can't get off because they're fucking standing there, and I'm like, you know, and I have to tell people, I have to yell at people, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, can you not see that you are blocking this escalator? Like, wake up. Hello, wake up. There are a lot of other people around here. It is not just about you. Like, it fucking drives me mental.
Jeez, okay. All right. Thought I was the grumpy one here. Boy, all right.
But, you know, you see that all the time, right? Why do people do that? Why? It's so obvious to me. Like, just don't do it. But people do it.
I mean, it must be a power thing at the end of the day, right? To be able to get away with whatever it is you want, right? And if you look at examples of what we actually aspire to or look up to in our culture, right? If you look at like film, television, advertising, it's that like powerful person that gets shit done. You know what I mean? So we've now grown up looking up and idealizing this. So it makes sense that now we're kind of overrun with it. And then it's also coupled with, like you were saying, from the business perspective, and with internet and reviews, and everyone's so afraid of being trash talked that you end up caving and letting these people get away with it. So I think then from a psychological perspective, it gives you power, right? And if you feel powerful, you're going to keep seeking out more power. That's what it does. So it's hard to give that up. And I don't think it's a malicious thing. I don't think people are necessarily capable of seeing it at that level.
It's not, because I will tell you, every time I've brought it up with people, like in the mall scenario, they always look at me like
you're the one that's insane.
Yeah, but they look at me like they're confused. Like, why?
Yeah.
They don't even realize. They're like, oh, they're like shocked. Like, what? Why are you telling me this? I didn't know when I was doing anything
I'm
wrong.
telling you this because you'd be pissed off if I just barreled through you.
Right. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to get violent with people. But I'm like,
that's my problem.
I just plainly tell people, you got to move. Like, you're blocking an escalator. Okay? Like wake up. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Give you the finger. It's the people that give you the finger when you do that. That's
the
part
part
where
they can give me the finger all they want.
I know, but it's again just that reaction that I just go like, why are we doing that? You know, yeah. And again, I get that, you know, it's that limbic system emotional response, right? And sometimes that's just fallback mechanisms in our brain. And especially if you're in a group of friends, you're now in a social context, and that plays into this thing as well, right? Mm-hmm. If all of your friends just decided to congregate there and you happen to, you know, want to get through there, well,
but again, this is my problem. I wish more people were, I think the right word to use is conscientious with other people, like just being more aware of their surroundings, that you don't live in this isolated pocket, right? You have to coexist with other people. And so you need to be more aware of your surroundings of, in this example, not crowding the escalator, not blocking space where there are a lot of people walking around, right? It's not just about you. You live in a society, and therefore there are certain rules that, you know, there isn't a school that you go to that teaches you this, but it just seems like you should kind of know and be aware, right?
And so there's a good point right there, is there is no school for this. So the idea of common sense when we're not talking to each other about what that might look like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So that's the thing.
Common sense isn't so common.
But that's exactly right. So if your idea of common sense is that you don't congregate at the top of an escalator, right? But their idea is different. I mean, you know, it again comes down to this idea of just this social context, right? And we need to try to, you know, hopefully start to address this idea of self-care, you know, and taking care of me above all others, you know, because I just feel like that's going to lead us down the path of destruction, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
If it's all just me, how are we building anything together? You think your cell phone was built by one person?
Well,
Maybe it is something
some
that
people
should be
might think
taught
that.
in schools.
Yeah.
You know
Right?
what?
We take it for granted
That's
that
a
like, oh,
great-
common sense should be taught in the home, but
Great point.
maybe it's not. So maybe it's time we
It's
start
not.
having a class on it.
Or even just, again, making it
Yeah.
more of a thing where we can talk among friends about that kind of stuff, right? Like if it's just not something that crosses into your sphere of conversation, then it's tough to really even have those conversations, right? If every time you bring that kind of stuff up, somebody goes, "What are you, some kind of wuss?" Right?
Every time I see a group of friends congregating at the top of an escalator, I'm gonna coin a new phrase. I think I'm gonna call it the sphere of stupidity.
Okay.
Right?
Drives me crazy.
Are you trying to instill fear in the stupid, or
Yeah,
is this?
I think so.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. And that's,
I might have to carry.
I mean,
I think I might need to carry around a whiteboard with me and a marker when I'm in public
go
places, so I can like draw
overwhelmed.
diagrams and say, "This is the consequence of your behavior. You fuck."
I think you should just have "you fuck" written at the top of it anyway.
That's right. This is
like
you.
perfect
You
marker right there,
fuck.
yeah.
This is you.
Oh,
You
okay,
fuck.
you just start that. You fuck. Okay, here's what you did wrong. Here's what we
Oh God, how are we getting out of this? How are we getting out of this?
Self-care.
Self-care, but more community, moving to more communal care, caring
again, like
more
going
about
back
other
to, you know,
people.
The last episode where we just talked about how we hadn't seen each other for a while, and the one time
Yeah.
that we do get to see each other, it's just that blast of your brain going, "Oh, thank God, there's people out there."
It is a
Right?
sigh of relief almost, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That, and you can almost hear your brain doing it from the inside, right? And you just feel that sense of just, hey, I'm part of something. Oh, thank God.
Self-care that's actually to the benefit of you, which sounds counterintuitive because self-care should always be to the benefit of you. But if it's a lot of what is sold to us as self-care is for the image we project, how others will perceive us, right?
Really?
So little
Sure.
things like what you just mentioned, going out with friends you haven't seen in a while, that's a form of self-care that's just for you, meditating and not posting about it or having friends take pictures of you meditating to say you're doing it, right? Like just for the sake of something for you, right? I think that's the start of it, is we need to kind of disentangle what we've invented self-care means and start to really wake up and realize that that's a contrived image that is being sold. So breaking away from it.
You bring up a
tool.
great point, Kristen. Because we talked about capitalism, what is being sold to us, right? And you're absolutely right. A lot of things that are being sold to us for self-care is really about improving our own image for the sake of how other people perceive us, right? I mean, if you look at Axe body spray, for example,
Ugh.
right? Like you could say, is that self-care? Oh, it's
smell
it's
that
making you
lingers for
smell.
days.
It's making you smell good, but you're doing it for other people.
It's a subjective term. But
Anyway.
It's really
But you're right. There is a lot of that. What we are being sold is about stuff specifically to improve how other people perceive us. And, in a lot of cases, it's harmless, right? I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but we need to also be aware of that it's ultimately self-serving and not always in a good way, too.
Well, I think the idea of self-care also implies somewhat that you're broken, right? And that you need to do this thing to fix yourself instead of, going out in nature. That's the thing. They want to sell you stuff to make your life better instead of just knowing that if you just got outside for 20 minutes, or 3 times a week, you'd be surprised how you wouldn't need all of this extra stuff and all of the eggs and, candles that smell like her.
Yeah.
Well,
you're right.
If you equate our brains to a computer, which essentially they are, right? It's like sometimes you just need to stop using it, right? Let it recharge. You got to plug it in sometimes to give it some more juice, right? Instead of what is currently being sold, which is like, just buy more, get some extensions, add on to your computer. That'll make it run faster, right? Get an extra fan to cool it down instead of just turning it off, right?
Yeah, if you ever watch John Carpenter's They Live, right?
Yeah.
That which is a great movie, but like, you know, the whole idea of like, you know, this alien species with these, you know, subliminal messages of buy more, consume, procreate, you know, but that's like that is a commentary on capitalism and our society of mass consumption, of owning things and buying things that we don't really need, right? To live, right? Do we need all these electronic devices? Do we need the latest 4K TV? Or now we got 8K. We got to have an 8K TV.
Wait, there's 8K?
Got to buy the
You didn't
latest.
tell me that.
Got to buy the latest iPhone every year. Otherwise, I'll just be depressed, right? You know, so
Yeah. Well,
I
it's
have
like
seen your
Aaron said
temper
earlier,
tantrums.
right? The magic pill analogy, right? We're all just looking for that one magic pill to fix everything. Oh, I feel sad,
do we
but I can
take the
just
red
buy
pill
this.
or the blue pill? That's the question.
Purple.
Oh, there is no purple. That was
Why
a
can't you
Matrix.
take both?
Well, I was trying to make a Matrix
close.
reference there, but
I know. So was I. I was just saying, why can't you take both of the pills, right? I mean,
both of the pills. I don't know. I don't think that works.
how do you know? Has anybody tried it? Maybe you can be part of the system and be enlightened at the same time.
Hey, well, okay, there you go.
Crazy.
But yes, you know, you're right. Maybe we should be teaching this stuff in school, right? There's a lot we don't teach in schools, right? We
Well,
don't
I think it's
General
really
life
trusting
skills.
each other.
general life skills, right? Why isn't that? You know, why isn't critical thinking a part of education? Why isn't life skills part of
Critical
education?
thinking, sure, but trying to have a common sense course, I just think that, you know, like that's the problem, is that how would you ever generalize that, right?
See, I like the idea. I don't agree with the term, using that term common sense, because if it was common, everyone would be thinking it. I think what we should say is that we just need to be, I mean, maybe mindfulness is a better term to use, right? Just be more mindful of, like, we are a society, so we need to care about each other. That needs to cross borders. It doesn't matter what ethnicity, it doesn't matter what gender, what color you are. Like, that needs to be, like, we need to look at our society, like this planet that we're all on, and we just need to care about each other, right? For this whole thing to work properly. If you think about the planet as a machine, right? All these moving parts, there are a lot of parts that are on this machine that don't work properly. There are parts that don't work at all, right? And we're not really cohesively functioning to our peak capacity.
Well, what does that even look like? I mean,
Well,
what would the peak capacity of humanity lurking
we
together
wouldn't be
look
making
like?
a lot of the same mistakes that we're making now. We wouldn't be trying to suppress, you know, voters. We would care about democracy. We would care about feeding the poor and feeding people that are living here right now that can barely afford to have food on the table. We would take care of people instead of spending money on war machines that kill and just destruct. Right?
Or just literally watching the rich people launch themselves into space.
Yeah, that's a new thing too.
Bezos is sending himself
Oh yeah.
on his rocket, and I'm just like,
Yeah, 'cause why not? And this is what we look up to, right?
and that's exactly it, right?
He does
He's
it
the
because he
one- he's-
can.
Which, you know,
Is that a reason
I
to do
just-
anything? Maybe. I don't know. Probably not.
But if it means that only you can do it and no one else can, that's my problem.
Yeah.
It's a matter of like expanding your perception, which is, I feel, what all these episodes ultimately come down to. But, you know, unravel the thread a little bit, right? Like take the 7 degrees of separation theory and just apply that to yourself in a decision-making process. So instead of only how does this affect me, how do I feel about it? Take it one step further. Okay, how does this affect my immediate group? Expand it out from there, just as an exercise, right? And just see what happens. And I guarantee that you'll think differently about whatever the problem is.
Yeah, what is that concept about this? Was it 7 degree? Is it 7 or 6 degrees of separation? How does that work again?
Yeah, I think it's 6. I don't know.
I
One
think
of
it
the
was
two.
7, but it all leads to back to Kevin Bacon, from what I understand.
Oh,
That's
really?
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 7
He
degrees
is
of
the
separation.
center of this whole universe.
Anything. 7 degrees of separation to Kevin Bacon, apparently. Yeah. And that's, I think
it's 6 degrees. No, 6 degrees of separation.
Is it?
6
There's,
degrees
like,
of separation is it's the idea that all people on average are 6 or fewer social connections away from each other. As a result, a chain of friend statements can be made to connect any two people in a maximum of 6 steps. It is also known as the 6 handshakes rule. I did not know that either.
So I'm 6 separations away from Jesus? Sweet.
There you go. Well, you're kind of looking like Jesus lately.
I know. I have been cultivating my lustrous beard and.
Yeah. Can you show me your wrists? Are they bleeding by any chance?
What? Oh, not today.
You don't got the stigmata thing going on?
No, the stigmata only shows up on Sundays. I guess it is Sunday, so that doesn't.
It is Sundays. Well, if they weren't bleeding before, they will be bleeding shortly.
I save it for off camera. Otherwise, I'm just leaking everywhere.
Yeah, it's a big mess. Nobody wants to see that. We don't want to
Exactly.
frighten away our, viewers here.
Me just covered in blood every episode.
Could attract a whole new
We're
crowd.
talking about self-care today. Maybe if I just wrap these up.
What do you guys do? Let's say over the last 10 years, you've changed obviously as a person, hopefully for the better. What kind of things? What kind of things have you done to try to be a more whole person and care more about society?
I try to have one rule where I try to help those who help others.
Okay.
That's kind of right. Like if I see someone who's trying to help someone else out, I'm all for helping you too. No. But I mean, I meditate. I go walking in the nature, right? Like that has been the best thing for my brain that I've been able to just get out and just go for a walk out in the middle of a forest somewhere has just been absolutely the best thing. And I cannot recommend it enough for everybody out there, right? Like just, you'll be surprised how all of your anxiety will just melt away and you can just walk through a forest and just enjoy it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kristen, what about you? What are some of the things that you've done to change?
Mine's going to sound really weird.
Okay.
But,
I'm all for weird. Go right ahead.
I have this thing where sometimes I envision my life as like a bird watching my life. So it's kind of the same as like the fly on the wall analogy, essentially. But I will actually just put myself in the mind of something that's floating above and watching what I'm doing. And I just find it helps give perspective, which is what we were talking about earlier, right? Yep. So it's like, okay, you kind of separate the physical me a little bit, right? Get some distance and look down on the bigger picture from, say, a bird's eye view. Mm-hmm. And it's helped me find a lot of clarity. And it's definitely helped with how I interact with the community and with other people.
Okay.
I've been using the sock puppet. That's been a good one. Same idea.
Yeah.
The what?
Talk to my sock puppet.
You talk to a sock puppet?
What? What? This guy.
I feel like that's a whole other issue.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Oh, it is. It definitely is.
Yeah, it's definitely, the learning never stops for me. I try every day. I don't really like how I was in my 20s in many different ways, but it's, again, life it's a learning experience. If you're not learning anything new, if you're not making a concerted effort every little day, then you're just, as far as I'm concerned, you're just not doing it right. You're not living to the full potential of being a good human being, right? So like there's just like little, you know, and a lot of times it's little things, and it doesn't have to be big, but you know, just doing, even at work, I just find doing things more for others, for the benefit of others and less for myself, a lot of times actually comes back to me in a positive way anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I find the more that I do for others, it does actually impact me in a positive way, because, you know, if you're just an all around good person and think about doing things for other people, they're probably going to be more inclined to think about you and keep you at the forefront of their mind, you know, for something in the future, whatever that happens to be, you know, and it's just the small things that do make a difference, right?
Well, and just think of, like, to take the opposite end of that, just think about what follows in the wake of the selfish asshole.
Okay.
You know,
yeah.
all these people that you're pushing aside and, you know, just being generally rude to, you know, just think about that, how that comes back to you in the end, right? Like, does that make you feel like a better person doing that kind of stuff? Or do you know kind of in the back of your brain that you're doing something that you wouldn't appreciate someone else doing to you?
Exactly.
Right?
The old golden rule. Do unto others.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer a silver kind of, you know, I don't know if that's the one to necessarily base everything on, but
I think it's a pretty solid rule, right? Treat others the way you would have them treat you.
But until you get into sadism and masochism, it becomes a real, right? Some people like that kind of stuff. Right? So, and that's, you know, again, we, like, a lot of that comes back to addictive loops inside our brain. Sometimes we just get addicted to that, you know, feeling of pain, I guess, you know. But
yeah, that's a good
but that's
point.
where I think we could help each other, you know. If we all understood, again, that we're all in this together, there's no manual for any of this, so the only thing that we can do is try to, hey, did that work for you? No? Okay, I won't do that then. Right? Like, you know, try to help each other out so that we can hopefully just muddle through this shit together, right?
I'm going to say something that might sound a bit weird, and I don't know why I haven't really thought about it yet, but in some ways, I feel like being incredibly selfish is also in and of itself an addiction.
Yep, absolutely.
Because it's rewarding you for doing something that really only benefits you.
Well, especially if that's what you've been taught, right? Like, if your parents basically filled your head with nobody's going to do anything for you, you got to do it for yourself, and if everybody tries to take it from you, you got to beat them up, right? Like, that's where a lot of people come from, right? Is that they were, like, their parents were, you know, put through a situation where everything they had was taken away from them, and so they reacted by teaching their kids to never allow that to ever happen again, you know? And I think a lot of that is like you said, just learned behaviors that we have the control over, you know? And again, if you're put into a community where everyone around you was just going, hey buddy, it's cool, don't worry about it, right? And everybody just helped each other out, and you'd be surprised how quickly our brains would adapt to that situation as opposed to the situation that we have now where we just shit on each other randomly, right?
Yeah, and shit on each other, we do, because you do see a lot of that. Every day you see it on the news all the time, right?
I think it was Lincoln who said that 90% of the time people will do the right and just thing, and the other 10% of the time, Right? I'm paraphrasing, but it was you know, basically the idea that, you know, again, 90% of the time you're a great person and I love being around you and we have great times and everything's great. And that 10%, I mean, whew, right? But if you're to judge a person on that 10%, you know, it really just does a disservice to who this person could be were you to give them the benefit of the doubt. So
absolutely.
Good point.
Mm-hmm. I get one every once in a while.
Well, you know, I don't know what we accomplished today.
I feel better.
I always feel better when we have these conversations, but I just feel like there's so much left unanswered.
Well, that's what we hope you'll come back to us with, right? What parts of this conversation would you like to continue? Do you have any things that you have gone through specifically that lead you to the idea that maybe we should all be selfish assholes, right? I mean, I'd love to hear them, right?
Absolutely.
You know, there's you know, again, welcome to the land of no easy answers, right? None of this is supposed to be easy because, again, it's one of these things where life is not going to be easy on you at all times, right? And we have to be prepared for these hard conversations. And again, I find having you guys to help me out with this is immensely beneficial.
Absolutely.
So that's what we're here for, is let's just start talking about it.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Right? Nothing's ever going to get solved if we just maintain the status quo.
Let's be each other's hard weather friends, not just the easy weather friends. Let's just not be there for each other when the good times are happening, but let's stand up for each other when the shit times start.
Well said. Yeah, and I'll say it again. I consider this what we do. We have a community, and I want us to grow this community of this show, and I do want to hear from people. So if you are watching on YouTube, thank you very much for watching. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button, I'm not sure why you haven't done that yet, but you probably just forgot about it. So hit that button because we release new episodes of this show every Tuesday and Thursday. Do drop a comment and let us know what you want to hear us talk about on a future episode. Or if you just, you want to unload, maybe there's something you've got on your mind, maybe you disagree with us. That's kind of the whole point of why we do this, because this, we do need to talk about, that we do need to have those difficult conversations, and that's what this is all about. Hopefully we can have those conversations in a civil, intelligent manner. They might not. They might not always be. Exactly right, Aaron. They might not be civil all the time. If you would prefer to listen to this in audio format, we are available as a podcast in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, and Stitcher, as well as Amazon, Alexa, and also Spotify, which is a newer podcast platform that was mostly known for music, and they're doing podcasts for some reason, but I'm not going to complain because we're available everywhere, and we want to keep it that way. We're also available on social media. Don't be shy. We're at The Subvert Pod on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We are also available on our website, thesubvertpodcast.com/blog. You can sign up for the newsletter and read From the Desk of Fluid Brain, which is written by Aaron Stewart over here. And you'll get all of his amazing articles as they flow out of his mind.
Yes, that's it.
They are.
The pause there had me confused.
Well, it's been like I had to think about it for a second, but they have been flowing like a waterfall out of his mind because he's been writing like crazy. I can't keep up with all of the articles he's been writing. So
open the floodgates.
Exactly. That's all the time we have for this week. But before you go, just remember, we're all fucked up. So let's be fucked up together.